On the planet Thiraki, water was not just life, it was everything. It was wealth, it was power, it was the line between hope and despair. Generations had lived and died under the burning twin suns, clinging to what little they could find. A sip from a flask could mean the difference between surviving another day or being swallowed by the desert sands. And yet, when the Thiraki, a people hardened by centuries of drought, stumbled upon a dying human in their wasteland, they gave him water, just one sip, a kindness so small, so impossible under their suffering, that it would change the destiny of their world forever. The Thiraki had not always been desert dwellers. Their history told of oceans so vast, their ships vanished beyond the horizon. Forests thick as labyrinths, rivers that carved silver veins through their land. But that was before the sky betrayed them. Storms ceased. The clouds thinned, then vanished. Lakes shrank into hollow basins. Oceans dried, leaving behind fields of salt and bone. The drought consumed everything. Now, the Thiraki lived in scattered clans. They built their homes half buried into canyon walls, hiding from the endless winds. They rationed water with ruthless discipline. Drops measured, recorded, and guarded. Children were born into thirst. They learned early to sip slowly, to swallow carefully, to treat water as something sacred. Many died before ever seeing rain, yet still they endured. Proud, but weary, a civilization waiting to vanish. Then, one night, the heavens tore open. A ball of fire streaked across the stars, roaring into the desert. The ground shook as metal screamed and broke against the earth. A human scout vessel lost, crippled, far from home, was brought down. From the wreck crawled its pilot, his skin pale, his lips cracked, his breath shallow. He stumbled only a few steps before collapsing onto the sands. He was dying, not from the crash, but from thirst. A group of Thiraki foragers found him. They stood over the fragile creature, unsure. He was alien, his face strange, his body soft. And worst of all, he begged for water, water they did not have to give. To share meant less for their own children, less for tomorrow. For a long moment they hesitated. Survival demanded they leave him to die. But then Kelra, the eldest among them, her face lined by years of desert winds, stepped forward. She took the flask from her belt, heavy with the last of her share. She knelt, lifted the human's head, and pressed it to his lips. "Mercy," she whispered, and the alien drank. Days later, human rescue ships descended. They retrieved their lost scout and listened to his tale. He spoke not of despair, but of compassion. How a people starving and parched had given him water, not because they could afford to, but because it was right. Humanity remembered, for they too had once been a people of thirst. On Earth, long ago, rivers had been poisoned, aquifers emptied, nations torn apart by water wars. They knew the value of every drop. They knew the cruelty of its absence. And so, when they heard of the Thiraki's mercy, something stirred within them. The Confederacy vowed that no Thiraki child would ever know thirst again. And if you believe, as we do, that the smallest kindness can change the course of history, take a moment now to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more of the greatest humanity stories. because every act of kindness, like every drop of water, ripples far beyond what we can see. Soon, the skies above Thiraki were filled with Terran ships, but these were not war vessels. They carried storm forges, vast orbital machines capable of pulling hydrogen from the void, engines that stitched vapor into clouds, beacons that summoned lightning to split the heavens. And so it began. The first drop struck the desert like a drumbeat, then another, and another, until the heavens unleashed a torrent unseen for centuries. The Thiraki stood in silence as the rain fell, first in disbelief, then in awe. Rivers carved anew through the canyons. Crops sprouted from seeds buried years ago, waiting for the sky's forgiveness. Children laughed and danced in puddles, their voices echoing under the storm, and the elders wept, not from sorrow, but from joy. Their world was alive again. The Thiraki had given a stranger a sip of water. In return, humanity gave them an ocean. And in that moment, two civilizations discovered a truth that echoes across the stars, that sometimes the smallest act of compassion can spark the greatest legacy. If this story moved you, join us. Like, share, and subscribe for more of the best HFY stories. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were a Thiraki holding the last drop of water?